Welcome back everybody. In today's video we'll be finishing up the concrete block for the posts. To do this I just needed to put about another centimetre of concrete onto the top surface. So first I'm spraying some WD-40 equivalent around the edges so it doesn't stick to the former. You may notice the vertical rebar has been put in place. I probably should have done that earlier, and now it's just a case of the final layer. I was reading somewhere that it's a good idea to actually use mortar rather than full-on concrete for this top level, as it gives a bit of a smoother surface. While you're watching this, I just wanted to say a big thank you to everybody who's subscribed, liked and made comments. They're much appreciated. I know we're not a huge channel and it's not really so much about that, but I hope you enjoy it. Thank you all. One final thing I wanted to do on this surface is to use a stiff brush just to give it a little bit of texture so that if it does ice up it's not too slippery. And the following weekend coming back, it's all dried, it looks pretty good. I'm quite proud of it, to be honest. It's the first bit of concreting I've done in many years. Next up, it was time to remove the former from the back edge. It was a lot more difficult than I expected. I realized that I'd screwed the former together and then they were screwed to these wooden upright posts. Getting those out in such a narrow space was quite difficult. I'm going to leave the front former on for the moment because I need to bring the paving up and that will provide a bit more support for that deep structure. And finally it was time to start laying the blocks for the gate posts. I'm using these 12 centimetre concrete blocks. And then I have to lift each one over the top of the rebar and lower it down. Later I will cut these to the correct length. Of course each block needs to be level and straight, so it takes a bit of time. They say the first level is the most important, and especially when you're not a professional, it just takes time. If I was to do this again, I would have actually mixed up less mortar because it's so hot that the working time for this mortar is less than probably an hour. So by the time I came to the end, it was really starting to solidify already. I only actually had 8 blocks on hand, but I thought it was a good start. And several hours later, here's the first lot of blocks in place. It's still wet, as you can see. And here it is the following weekend. Moving on to something different, this is something I've been meaning to do for quite a long time, is to get the water supply tested. The water supply comes from a pumped well, so we don't actually have a water bill at all. The only problem is we're not sure how safe this water is, if it has bacteria or anything harmful in it. So we need to take samples to send off to the lab. It only takes about a week or so to get the results back. Each of the tests has different requirements, asking you to rinse the bottle, run the tap for several minutes, or also to use a lighter to actually heat the end of the tap or the faucet, I guess to get rid of any contamination. And then each of them is labelled up and sent off to the lab to be tested. A week later, we got this full report back from the laboratory. It's of course all in Japanese, and here is a English translation for what they tested for. It looks all okay. And back outside again to try and deal with the paving area. I just wanted to show you something that I'm dealing with here. What's wrong with this picture? You may notice that this block is about 8 centimeters deep, whereas the block next to it is only about 5 centimeters deep. This means that whoever laid the blocks before had a real nightmare trying to raise and lower blocks depending on the depth of each block. So no wonder they were never level. Also, the edges had no soldier blocks to lock everything in place. As you can see here, they just left the edge with soil, and I'm sure they probably put flowers in, but over time all of these blocks along the edge here just collapse and fall away. So the plan is to actually remove these blocks along the edge, and this whole area will need to be taken out and repaved all the way up to the concrete base to the wall. I went ahead and bought a plate compactor, although I know you can rent them. There will be days where I'd use them and days where I wouldn't. I sell it on once I'm done with it. The first thing I needed to do with the paving was to work out what level the paving blocks would come to up next to the garage. I was then able to string a horizontal line using a laser level. Once this was done, I was then able to string out a level for the paving surface itself, and then work back from that down to the far corner to see the slope so that rain water would run off from there. And it was time to start removing all of the blocks which had collapsed around the edge. I needed to try and sort them. Some of them have a flat end on them, some of them have a wavy pattern on the end. Some of them are 8 centimeters deep, while some of them are only 5 centimeters deep, so there's a big variation to sort. was then time to work on this corner area. The blocks themselves were at the right level, but the gaps between them were not so good, so I just needed to make some adjustments to the concrete, clear out a little bit below and rebed them. And more blocks to remove. Here I'm just preparing the surface, trying to get it a little bit level before we go in with the stone layer and the compactor next. After putting down a layer of stone, it was then time to use the plate compactor. I'm not saying I'm an expert on this, in fact it's the first time I've ever used it. It went quite a bit faster than I expected, and it was easier to control than I expected. I didn't actually show it, but I put 2 layers of stone down, each about 3 inches deep, and went over it several times, but I did that off camera. The only thing I hadn't thought about is once I got to the end, it's not easy to turn these things around on the spot. So I had to figure out a way of reversing it up and going over it again. The plate compactor has a set of fold-down wheels, so the obvious option was to cover the stone and reverse it up and then try again. It was then time to put the layer of sand. This only needs to be about an inch or 3 centimeters deep. Now I know some of you are going to say, well, why didn't you just have sand delivered instead of using these bags? I kind of wanted to get started on just this side bit, and I have a proper delivery coming with sand and stone. But it's going to be a few weeks, so I thought I'd show you what I've done so far. Well, I seem to have run out of time on this video. Up next, I'll be showing you how I completed the paving all the way up to the wall base. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to subscribe, like, and comment below, and we'll see you again next time.